The New York Jets go undefeated in preseason. Can they carry this momentum into the regular season?
No huddle, Wilson end zone, caught, touchdown, Elijah Moore.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, preseason is over, and if you aren't aware, moving forward, myself, Buffalo Jet fan, and Jets Chaos are going to be doing a post-game review after every single Jets game, all 17 throughout the regular season, over on Buffalo Jet Chan's channel. So head over there and subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button here, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and hit the notification bell to be notified when new content shows up. I have made a reputation of being the guy that doesn't go with everybody else. I kind of have my own opinions, and I kind of stand by them. But if you want to hear something different, you want to see something different, stop by the channel and everything like that. But let's talk about today's game. We played the Giants today, and we won, sending us undefeated into the preseason being over. We went 3-0 in this preseason. We beat the Eagles, we beat the Falcons, and we beat the Giants. I took a lot of notes on today's game. And so I just wanted to talk about some of my thoughts and what I got from today's game and go over that and moving forward into the season, what to expect. So let's start off with some of the negative things that I saw, because I'd rather keep this video on a positive note. Some of the negative things that I saw. I think the biggest negative that I saw is the O-line play. I know that we've had a lot of turnover on the offensive line. Only 3 players from last year are back, and they're all playing in new positions, except for Connor McGovern at center. But Elijah Vera-Tucker has swapped to the other side. George Fant has swapped to the other side. We brought in Dwayne Brown to be the left tackle, and this was his first time getting game reps with his offensive line. Laken Tomlinson is brand new to the team. So it's a whole new offensive line unit. And I guess the biggest concern that you got to say is that we weren't creating a lot of push in the run game, and in pass protection, we were just absolutely abysmal. Flacco was running for his life, and ultimately you never want to see Flacco running for his life. The man is 37. He's always been a pocket passer. What is the expectation that a 37-year-old quarterback is now going to develop some legs and be able to throw on the run? I think part of the interception that you saw from Joe Flacco this last game came from the fact that he was having to create a lot of extend plays with his legs, and you just don't want to see that from him. Now, if that's Zach, I'm okay with that. That's what Zach does. That's one of the reasons we drafted him, is the off angle and off platform throws and what he can do when he creates the space. But another part of that is the receivers just aren't creating enough separation consistently. I think a lot of that was because we didn't see a cohesive receiver unit. We saw a lot of rotation in that receiver space. Even when Denzel Mims was the go-to guy, we saw a lot of rotation in and out in different bodies and things like that. And then the other bad thing, and this is really the only real bad thing that I have to say, is that we're going to have to cut good players, guys. There are players that definitely earned roster spots today. There are definitely players in my mind that they deserve to be on this team. They deserve to be on a 53-man roster somewhere, and I think we're going to see that here soon. We're going to see that from a lot of people around the league and different things like that. So let's talk about some of the positives. Let's start on the offense, and then let's go to the defense. The one big positive that I saw on the offense is that we moved the ball around a lot today. We had 15 different pass catchers this game, headlined obviously by Denzel Mims's 8 targets, 7 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 14.6 yards per reception. Definitely could tell that the Jets were trying to raise the stock on Denzel Mims and try to get a team to buy high on Denzel Mims if we do trade him away. But ultimately, you love to see a lot of different people getting involved. CJ Uzama, Trevon Wesco, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Michael Carter, Calvin Jackson, Garrett Wilson, Kenny Yeboah, Jeremy Ruckert, Irvin Charles, Lawrence Cager, Tyler Conklin, Braxton Berrios, Jeff Smith, and of course Denzel Mims. all catching the ball. And that order that I just read them in was lowest amount of total yards to highest amount of total yards. So you love to see a lot of different receivers getting involved and doing all those things, especially because we were obviously rotating through a lot of guys. And one thing that I really picked up is there are 4 players that I don't think that make this roster, but I really, really hope that we can keep them on the practice squad because I really think these guys have some potentials. And those 4 guys are Irvin Charles, Calvin Jackson Jr. or Sr., Calvin Jackson, Kenny Yeboah, and Zonovan Bam Knight. I don't think any of those guys have earned a spot on the roster per se yet, but if injuries happen to this team, if something goes wrong, if we need to call somebody up from the practice squad, I really liked these 4 guys and what we got out of them. Specifically, I really liked what Calvin Jackson brought with his he's just good, man. I really liked him. And then Irvin Charles, I like his size. He's big and he's strong, and you can't teach those things. And then Kenny and Bam are those are guys that Bam seems like he's 1 year away from being an NFL player. Kenny seems in that same thing. I think he's 1 year away from being an NFL player. And so I would hate to lose those guys if we do have to cut and waive them. And sticking with the offense, one of the biggest things that I noticed is that Breece Hall is that dude. Breece Hall is that good, guys. He was so dynamic. I know that he didn't run for 1,000,000 yards or do anything like that. He actually had 5 carries for 13 yards, so it doesn't seem that impressive when you look at all of that stuff. But I think a lot of that came from the fact that the offensive line wasn't creating any push. When you really look at what he was able to do and the production, not production, I guess, but his ability on that 11-yard run, I really liked it. He goes out, he bumps up, and he sees that it's not there, and he cuts back, and he just takes over that space of the field that was given to him, makes a guy miss, and almost breaks free and has open field in front of him, but he gets caught up and tripped up and grabbed there at his feet. And ultimately, once this offensive line unit starts getting better and they can create some push in the run game, watch out, because this guy's going to be doing some crazy things. I'd love to see what he looks like with Nick Bawden running in front of him, taking that first hit, because I think that's a touchdown. If we have a tight end or a fullback on that running play, running that backside and getting that linebacker or that corner, whoever it was, the safety, getting that block and taking him out of that play, I think Breece Hall takes it to the house. I think he makes the last guy miss, and Breece is gone. So it's exciting to see it. Breece is that dude, definitely worth the trade up in the second round, in my opinion. And now, last but not least, and I wrote it in big letters just so you guys can see it, Streveler, man. Streveler, he's earned a spot on a 53-man roster somewhere. I think that's the best thing that I can say about Chris Streveler. He showed us his limitations. He showed us what he's not good at, but he also showed us what he can do in crunch time, especially when you take into consideration that against the Eagles, he didn't take a single snap that entire week beforehand. Atlanta, he was taking all of the 3rd and 4th team reps, and then the Giants, the same thing. To go back down and go and win those games each and every time with the level of talent and the players that were around him is impressive. I hope to see him as QB3 or even be on the practice squad for this team, because I think he just brings something dynamic as a backup, as the backup's backup, right? He has athleticism and he has legs, which is something that I can't say about Joe Flacco or Mike White. So Streveler, I think he deserves a shot. I would be willing to give him a shot over a guy like Mike White, but that's just me. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. A lot of my notes are on the defense because I think the defense looked good today. A very similar stat to the pass catcher stat. The defense was working as a cohesive unit. It wasn't one guy kind of doing all of the work. The defense came from a lot of different people. There were 23 different tacklers today. A lot of those guys were getting solo tackles. A lot of those guys getting combined tackles and joint sacks and different things like that. For us to see that 0.5 of one of our sacks came from the slot corner, you really like to see it. Ulbrich really kind of I think in my eyes, saved his job from being on the hot seat early. We finally saw him call dynamic plays. We finally saw him do interesting things. If you guys didn't see this, I recommend going back and watching that. I think the first defensive play of the Jets defense, we had Quinnen Williams drop into coverage. We sent a linebacker flying up the middle, and then Quinnen dropped into coverage. And that's the kind of creativity, that's the kind of thing that you want to see. We saw a lot of blitzes, and it was good to see our defense not playing vanilla. And when they weren't playing vanilla, having them and seeing them be dynamic and interesting and, do those things. Another thing that I saw is, Michael Clemens and Jermaine Johnson look legit. I can't tell you how many times I saw JJ coming off of the edge, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at Carl Lawson, because all I saw was the 5, and I didn't see that it was actually 52 coming up and blowing it up. And Clemens is showing us that he did not deserve to fall to the 4th round. A lot of people forget this, but Clemens had like a 2nd round grade on him, and he only fell because of some off-field issues that he had. He's that good, and he's been disruptive, and not just on the outside, but on the outside and on the inside. Quinnen Williams, I think he only took 6 snaps this game, but man, does Quinnen look unstoppable. It looks like he's like unblockable. Like, you're not going to be able to stop this kid. I am worried about Quinnen, not because of anything other than the fact of I want to extend this guy now. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk him having a Pro Bowl, all-pro year, and then us having to pay him the buku bucks, because I want to keep this kid on this roster. He looks unblockable, and when you partner him with Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, Carl Lawson, Jonathan Franklin Myers, Solomon Thomas, these are all guys that I believe in for this defensive line unit. It's going to be scary, man. Another thing that I saw, and this is transitioning over to the defensive back, the back 7, the defense looked really good in coverage. When we finally saw this defense play not cover 3 vanilla calls and actually play our defense and it'd be dynamic and interesting, we looked good in coverage. We weren't giving up a bunch of yardage or anything like that. We looked like a team that was dynamic and interesting, and we only gave up 86 rushing yards, so we were tackling really, really well in the run game, and we only gave up 231 receiving yards. So again, being good and productive in coverage when it mattered with the first team and the second team, which are what I care about. The third and the fourth team, I don't care that they kind of looked bad in coverage, because they did. But the starters, they looked good, and I felt a lot more comfortable with the defense. Transitioning into the linebacker room, there's 2 players that I think we need to talk about in this linebacker room. And I'll be the first one to say that I was wrong about Quan Alexander. I was so adamantly against bringing in Quan Alexander because I didn't think he would elevate this linebacker room enough to justify bringing him in. And boy, was I wrong. Not only was he dropping hit sticks and just destroying guys, but he was a leader. He was pumping up the boys. He was jumping up into the plays. He was reading and reacting the run game really, really well. He was dynamic in coverage and really sticky, which is one of the things that you like to see, with 2 tackles and a solo tackle, that hit stick, obviously. And then the other thing for me is Jamien Sherwood. Jamien Sherwood, definitely. Dom C, I think, said it best in his tweet. I am totally okay, and now can really picture Jamien Sherwood being the Mike linebacker of the future for this team. He is definitely a guy that I can look at being a CJ Mosley replacement. Now, for me, if it was me, I would actually like to extend CJ. I like CJ on this team. I don't like CJ on his current contract. So if we can do some cap finagling and then we, lower his contract number to a reasonable number and extend him, I'd like to see him on this team for another 2 or 3 years. If that's possible, especially playing next to a guy like Jamien Sherwood and Quincy Williams. I think both of those guys really, really earned their spots. And I think Buffalo Jet fan said this on his live stream with me is he said, we used to always talk about Jamie Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin as this unit that stayed together. And I think we've got to change that up now. We've now got to talk about it. I think our linebacker room goes, linebacker 1 is definitely CJ Mosley. Linebacker 2 is very definitely Quan Alexander, but that linebacker 3 is now wide open. Quincy Williams and Jamie Sherwood both have equal claim, in my opinion, to that linebacker 3 spot. We need to put into that unit of, hey, we're talking about these two players together. Definitely needs to be Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams. And if both of those guys can develop into solid linebackers moving forward, you can really, really have faith that our starting level linebackers for this team is in good hands. And it made me feel a lot more comfortable with this defense. And that's really it. To end the note on something negative, because I did miss it here, is it did seem that one of the players that I am not a big fan of, one of the players that I want cut from this team, seems like they're going to be making the final 53. Just seems like they trust this guy too much. And that's cornerback special teamers Justin Hardy. I am not a Justin Hardy fan. I just don't think we're a team where we can waste a roster spot on a guy who only brings us one thing on special teams. And a Buffalo Jet fan said something really important, which is like, yeah, you say that until you get one blown coverage on special teams, and like, you're absolutely right. But when you have more athletic, stronger, faster guys who are going to be making this roster, it comes down to coaching. Is our special teams coordinator going to be is he earning his paycheck? Can he teach wide receiver 6, wide receiver 5, tight end 4, running back 3, whatever it is? Can he teach one of these other guys to play that role? Like, is that something that Javelin Guidry can do? Is that something that Michael Carter II can do? Can Brandon Eccles do that? Like, we have other players that are bigger, stronger, and faster than Justin Hardy that actually contribute in their position rooms. Can't we use those guys? Instead, Hamza Nasruddin, just to keep going, Jason Pinnock, the list, Ashton Davis, the list goes on and on. I know that these guys are already playing on special teams, but you have to think that there has to be a replacement somewhere on the roster for Justin Hardy, so that we can bring in more guys like Jabari Zuniga, who deserves to be on this roster and might not make it. Tanzel Smart, another guy who deserves to be on this roster and might not make it. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm excited for this season. I'm really happy with what we saw from this team in preseason. The fight and the will, never giving up in a game, no matter how far we were behind. I am a little bit worried about our run game and our offensive line. This was supposed to be a much, much better unit, and I still believe that they can be a better unit. I have high expectations for this team. I'm going to say it now. I expect 8 to 10 wins from this team. I think we saw that from this team. We beat a playoff team in Philadelphia, and then we beat 2 bad teams in Atlanta and the New York Giants. Those are not NFL caliber teams right now. They're both in rebuilds, but we did beat them, and it is the preseason, so take with that what you will, obviously. But we've got too much talent on this team for us to be in that same old Jets mentality. I want to see growth. I want to see Zach back. I'm hoping to see Zach week 1 against the Ravens, because I really want to see him all 17 games. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What players are you excited to see week 1? What did you think of how we performed in the preseason? And do you take us going 3-0 in the preseason to matter anything at all? I don't. The Lions on their 0-16 year went 3-0 in the preseason. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And last but not least, go Jets.